So, James, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for agreeing to come on. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Well, I could never turn down coming on Dave the Raves podcast, so here I am.
So
Let's go in deep.
Let's go deep. So, I've followed you for a little while. I've seen you on Clubhouse, and you seem to be giving a lot of value in the rooms on Clubhouse and kind of talking a lot of sense in terms of the business side of things. And I'd just like you to tell the listeners kind of, where did your entrepreneurship journey start for you? Where did it all come about?
Well, I don't know. I suppose at school I was the typical kid selling sweets and trying to trade a little bit of cash at school. I left home when I was really young, and I had a choice to either sink or swim. My mum had MS and died when I was quite young, and I loved business. I loved the idea of being an entertainer, so I set up a magic company. And I went out and done kids' parties, weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, funerals, all of those things, not funerals. And by the time I was 16, I was earning about 1,500 quid a week doing kids' parties. I was absolutely rammed, swapping time for money, but swapping time for goodish money for a 16, 17-year-old. And then I just got into it and kept growing and growing and growing.
And at what point did you realise that I'm actually onto something here and I'm learning more about the business side? Because I suppose when we all start, were you chasing the money more than anything else, or were you finding that...
I had when Mum died, I had a bit of a moment thinking, Christ, she's like 44, and she had nothing. She didn't have any money. And I thought, Christ, if you get ill, and you swap time for money and use your body to make money, and as a magician, that's what you do, use your hands, literally. I started thinking, I've got a profitable job here. This isn't a business. If I stop, the income stops. And so it's from that point on, I thought, right, I need to create businesses that are not just around me. And so I built an entertainment agency, then I'd done some prop and event hire stuff. And then they were just Me Too businesses that anyone could compete with me. And so I tried to build my business to be bigger, to have less competition. So I went into owning a family entertainment centre. When I was 20 years old, I opened something called Party Man World, which is at the moment still the largest chain of indoor play centres in the country. And then I realised actually for £500,000 people could compete with me and build another one in the town and take 20-30% of my customers. And so I started thinking bigger and opened day nurseries, and I attached day nurseries to the business. And I found out people were scared of them because they were regulated businesses, because of Ofsted, because of the paperwork.
Yeah.
And I also started realising that as I opened them, people offered to buy them off of me, but no one offered to buy my leisure businesses off of me. And still, I learnt about the weather being a big factor in my leisure businesses, because we had indoor businesses. So when the sun came out, the income just stopped. So I looked at outdoor attractions, and I bought a farm park. I've just bought a zoo. We've got a little theme park in Eastbourne as well. And then I started buying the commercial property of which my business is operated out of. And then I started buying other commercial property to rent to other people. I've got quite a bit of residential property, and they're just the things that I've learned along the way, and I've documented them in my books and on my YouTube channel, on my podcast, just to help people. And as time trundled on, I realised that through the things that I did, I actually knew some stuff, and lots of business owners didn't do what I did. I was a bit of a bigger risk taker than most, I think, mainly because losing your mum, and I know sadly, Dave, that's happened to you, but when you have it happen to you young, you start thinking, actually, does anything actually matter? Just take the risk. And so that was probably the best thing that happened to me out of that terrible situation.
And I think you're right in terms of that, because, you know, like I said previously, as I'm going through that right now with my parents, and I think you reevaluate the things what matter in life, and you reevaluate the things of where you will take a risk. And to rewind it back, because you've had significant growth, you've had, you know, seem to go strength on strength and new ideas and filling in gaps where, you know, if the weather's sunny, I'm going to open up something outside. But who was mentoring you along this way? Where were you taking your inspiration from? Where were you learning from?
Frustration and just working out. See, the problem with me is I won't give up. And that's a big problem, because I think of something that Steve Jobs always said, and I always repeat this: most people give up because they're sane. And I was just not prepared to give up. So the University of Life really did help. But books have probably been the biggest mentorship to me. You know, I read Losing My Virginity. I've read Shoe Dog. I've read How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis, and those books from these multi-billionaires that have filled my brain. Brad Sugar's Billionaire in Training, another great book that really helped me navigate decisions that I've made in my business. So I've always been an avid reader. In terms of something that I've always done, if I've opened a new industry, it opened into a new sector or business sector, I've reached out to the leaders of those industries and asked to go and have a coffee with them, have lunch with them, and just chat about what they've done. So when I started to open day nurseries, I got to know loads of other day nursery owners. When I opened my farm park, I made sure that I met all the leaders in the farm park industry in the UK. Same with my play centres. When I started my business entrepreneurship and speaking business, I got to know all the biggest speakers in the UK, and I reached out to them and just said, you need to meet me. I need your help, please. And they've always reciprocated and said yes.
And I think that's important. I think that's something we do in the training industry, is we share a lot of best practice, good ideas. You know, we have Ofsted in training industry, so the Ofsted come in, we need to be prepared for Ofsted, make sure the teaching, make sure at grade 1 minimum, you know, and it's, you know, we really strive towards, you know, their common inspection framework. But in terms of when you're meeting someone, because it's great advice of people afraid to reach out to someone in their industry and go, can I just have a coffee and ask you some questions? Yeah. What questions are you asking them? What are you wanting to learn?
Yeah. What you want? What? So I asked that. You're asking me that question. I guess, Dave. Yeah. So I would ask them that. You know, what's the downside to this business? What do you spend on labour? What's your monthly profit? What's your customer retention like? What's the lifetime value of your customers? Where do you find your staff? What's your rules on the locations that you take on? And how do you get your customers? What's your best marketing? And they've always, but I've always been open and given everything that I know, because I felt like I knew some different stuff to them, and I told them all the pitfalls of my current businesses and why I want to get involved in that. And yeah, it's always been good. I mean, look, there's 3 key things that I want to know as a business owner. I call this the 3 KPI rule. What's your labour to turnover ratio? What's your monthly profit and loss? And what's your average customer value? The average customer value piece I take off into 3 points: average lifetime value and average transactional value. But to keep it really simple, ACV, monthly profit and loss, labour to turnover ratio. And they're the things that I would be asking people. And I think when entrepreneurs are with other entrepreneurs that ask some good questions, they get infused by the conversation and they want to help. I love helping people, and then we're a rare breed. Business owners that want to employ people, that want to grow businesses, are the minority. Most business owners in the UK have what I call profitable jobs, with no staff. The second stage is profitable business, where you start employing people. And then the third stage, which is a profitable investment, is something that someone wants to buy when you exit the business. Mm-hmm. And so I would always target the people that I saw had what I call profitable investments, that were ahead of me. So, I mean, I think about my day nursery business. I know loads of people that own chains of day nurseries, and I network with them and get to know them and go to all the network conferencing events, offer to speak at stages for free on any of those conferences, where I usually get paid to speak on stages. If I'm wanting to do a new business, I'd go and speak on the stage. That allows me to, at their national conference, speak 1 to 1,500 or 500 or 1,000 in the audience. They all get to know me, and that boosts my connection straight away.
Yeah.
I also think, being an author, when people know that you have wrote some books, they're more likely to come in and agree to meet you and see you.
Yeah, brilliant advice there. And I think in terms of, you said there that you documented your journey, your podcast, your video, your YouTube channel. Obviously, I've seen a lot of your videos. Why did you decide to document your journey, and what do you think the importance is of documenting your journey, and what do you think that's given you back by just telling other people your daily routine, what you do and what you're involved with?
Three reasons. Reason number one is my personal brand and to get customers into my Entrepreneurs University and to get speaking gigs. That would be one of the reasons I do it. Second reason is when people search me for business, they can see that I'm Google famous, which anyone can be Google famous within 6 months just by putting loads of content out there. A third reason is when people come to work for me, they can know how I operate. So it makes the interview process much, much quicker because they've seen a litter of my content all over the internet, and they can decide to deselect themselves working for me, and I can deselect them working for me. And it should work both ways because they have seen everything that we do. And reason number four, there is a fourth reason, is in 10 years' time, we've created a scrapbook of what we've done as an organisation, and it's so flipping fantastic to look back on that. Like what Facebook Memories is doing. I mean, whoever came up with that Facebook, it's one of my favourite things about Facebook now is to see, oh my goodness, what we was doing 11 years ago. And I see that as our YouTube channel as a great way of documenting our business's story, because I'm not giving up. So by the time I get to 50, 60, imagine this scrapbook of content that I'm going to be able to look back and to create that culture and innovation within our company. Say, look how far we've come because we've spent so long documenting it.
Do you think you're inspiring a generation of people? Do you think you're inspiring a generation through your content to look at your content to...
I hope so. Not enough people. I mean, you make it sound like I've inspiring thousands. I've only got 8,000 YouTube subscribers. I've only got 3,500 followers on Instagram. I think I've got 30,000 on LinkedIn. I'm not nowhere near where I'd like to be to inspire more people, and I hope over time that will happen, because I'm not going to give up. I've been doing it 4 years now, pretty much more consistently than most people I know. But yeah, I hope it does inspire people, and I hope people watch my stuff and think, actually, get rich quick isn't real. You know, I constantly tell people it's 10 years at speed to build a successful, profitable life business. You know, all these ideas that you can do it in a couple of years just ain't true. You know, you think about a doctor, you know, you leave university, then you're on you leave school, you're on a 10-year journey to becoming a doctor. I actually think most things take 10 years to really start becoming you're in your own, if you know what I mean. And I think in 6 more years, me on YouTube will be amazing.
Do you... This is an interesting point, an interesting debate, because I hear different sides of the story on this. So what's took you 10 years and even longer to get where you are, do you believe that everything that's available now in terms of YouTube, Instagram, more, you know, the amount of self-help books, the amount of content, free content out there, do you think that people, if they consume enough content, do you think that can shorten the 10 years, or do you think there's something in that steady growth?
You know what? I think 10 years is speed.
Yeah.
I think 10 years is speed. I think that's the absolute speed. You know, I always, look, most people overestimate what can be done in a year, but underestimate what can be done in 10 years, because you just can't fit it into a year. You can do a lot in a year, but actually if you think in 10-year chunks, 10 years is nothing. It's nothing. You think about a child that's 10 years old, it happens so quickly, it's really nothing. And I just think you need to embed practice, learn mistakes, and people trust things that have had time invested into them. I think about companies that, like, think about Marsh Farm, one of my main businesses. It's 35 years old as a business. You know, after 35 years old, nearly everyone that lives in Essex and Kent and East London know of it because it's got 35 years of history. Millions of people have come here. And yes, marketing, yes, business now, learning knowledge can speed it up, but still many people have run businesses for 30 years. They still don't have staff. They still don't have anything that's investable that someone wants to sell. They've just built a profitable job. And actually, within 10 years, if you think about, I don't know, Facebook's still only 12 years old. There would be the unicorns that did sort of make it in 5 or 6 years, but it still wasn't a year. It wasn't 2 years. Think about the Amazon story. It's like 1994 they sold their first book, I believe. But actually it's in the last 5 years of that sort of 25-year journey that they really skyrocketed. So yeah, I do believe 10 years is speed.
So here's a thing. Do you think society now are impatient and they're not willing to give it 10 years, and they don't want to wait 10 years because, I explain to my kids that I had to wait for the next series of Friends to start. That blew their mind. They couldn't understand that. What do you mean? The series is just not all to download. You have to wait. People don't we live in an on-demand society. We want things now. And do you think that's maybe pointing us in the wrong direction, a more dangerous direction, certainly in business?
Some will do that, but the ones that have patience and persistence are the ones that are going to build things built on foundations rather than on sand. The ones that create great culture, great innovation, consistent levels of service, that takes time to build.
Yeah.
If you look at the great companies, Amazon, Disney, Facebook, all these companies haven't been built in a year. They've been decades. Walt Disney nearly went bankrupt. It took 50 years before Disney started making serious cash as an organisation. These things take time.
Yeah, brilliant that.
But your point about people being impatient, if you're impatient to build stuff built on real strong foundations, the market will take you out.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that happens in people? What traits have you seen in people who've grew and then exited fairly quickly?
Well, I know loads of people. I mean, Chuds and I talk, just even YouTube, people that grow their YouTube channels really, really quickly. Now, there's always a unicorn exception to the rule, but there's two people I can think of right now that have a much bigger following than me on YouTube, that have done it much quicker than me, but they do get rich quick tactics. So they build these huge audiences, but then they've lost their momentum and they're not growing percentage terms as fast as we are now. I just see evidence of it all the time. And then I also see evidence of big beast businesses that haven't continued to innovate. Blockbuster, for example, would be one of them. Thomas Cook in the UK would be another one of them. And Thomas Cook had massively strong foundations. They own loads of property. They had loads of cash in the bank. They over-invested, over-speeded up, but they didn't innovate their marketing. They sold all their property off. They sold all their planes and leased them back. And so that when things go wrong, and things always do go wrong, you go through processes of innovation all the time. But when things go wrong, you need to make sure you've got assets and collateral. So you can go to the bank and say, look, things are going wrong, but I've got all of this behind me. Can you lend me some money to re-innovate the company?
And yeah, it's important that, and I think that's another probably golden nugget of advice there. And how do you ensure that you're always innovating? Because it's at the top, the saying it's lonely at the top, and I suppose it can be lonely at the top because you're the figurehead. People are looking up to you. You're the leader. How are you always innovating? How are you staying motivated to look at the next biggest thing and where you should be going as a business?
There's two parts to this. There's a two-prong answer. Number one is, what do I spend my time doing? And I spend most of my time on marketing, innovation and culture. Because if you focus on constant innovation, even when you're at the top of your game and you're constantly focusing on culture, if you focus well on culture, you'll always sell more in your business because your team love being part of it. To see this in action, just go into any Apple store and you will see culture and innovation working at 100%. Those people love selling £1,500, £2,000 products. Whereas if you go and sell a £1,500, £2,000 product in most other businesses, people are nervous about doing it. Apple have won the day on that. Apparently, I've heard that Apple spend 45 minutes a day in store training their staff every single day. I've heard that off the record. I mean, that's a monumentous thing. But I've always said, look, it's at least 20 minutes training a day if you want your team to be fantastic. It's really hard to do. We don't do that as much as I want us to do that, but we're always trying to strive to that. Next, marketing, make sure you're always getting customers. That's why I wrote a book called Getting Customers. You want to constantly be driving, how can we get more customers? How can we get more customers? And then leave your management team to look after those customers and make sure there's great customer service. And then the rule of thumb that I've created for business owners and what they should be doing in their business is understanding you're running 4 companies in unison. Company number one is the company where you are today. This company has to cash flow, pay all the bills, and it's doing the tippy toes to company number two, which is the company that you really want to be. This is your end in mind company. This is your vision led company. Company number three is a marketing and a marketing company that's driving leads into companies one and two, which are operating companies. And company number four is a property investment company. And you're taking 50% of the profits out of companies one and two and pushing them into your fourth company, which is your investment company, which generates slow pounds. It slowly builds up. And because it slowly builds up, it's got real strong foundations. Then after a period of time, it starts generating fast cash that you can extrapolate and put into your pension fund or back into companies one and two to re-innovate them. So let me give you a point example of live companies who have done it well and who have done it wrong. So Disney. Company number one is we're making movies that people love. Our second company is we want to own theme parks and the best theme parks in the world. Those movies will help drive customers into that company. And company number three, our marketing company, is also continuing to make music and other movies to allow our company number two, which sells theme park tickets, toys, Disney Cruise Line, that the company is sending leads into it all the time. They do it spectacularly well. Company number four, Disney own loads of property. Like they own massive chunks of Florida and hotels. So they have loads of valuable assets, but they also own IP assets like Mickey Mouse, Buzz Lightyear and stuff like that, that they can re-leverage off into licensing and toys. Let's now look at that company that we lost last year in the UK. Debenhams, for example. Debenhams would be a great example. It's happened very recently. Company number one is we're going to be a store, a live store. Company number two for them should have been, we should be bigger than ASOS and Boohoo online. And then when they get there, they create a new company too. So they're always constantly innovating. Disney are always doing this. Like we want to do Disney Cruise. That's going to be our next company. Once we've done that, we're going to buy Pixar. Once we've done that, we're going to buy Marvel. So they're constantly innovating and bringing more in. Debenhams just stayed in company one. This is the company we are today.
Yeah.
And they didn't think about this is the next company we really want to be. And great companies are always thinking about that second company that forces their innovation. Company number three for Debenhams, they were shite at marketing. They were not like ASOS and Boohoo that were fantastic marketeers in the online presence. They still advertised in newspapers and billboards and just done shoddy stuff. And then company number four, they used to own Debenhams. They used to own all of the freeholds of their properties. They sold them all off, sold and leased back, and used that money to just piss up the wind, And so when things go wrong, if you haven't got that fourth company, like Disney at the moment, things have gone wrong for them. Their theme parks are closed. That's like a third of all their income. Their cruise liners are not working. Do we all really believe anything's going to happen to Disney? Absolutely not, because they own tons of real estate and tons of assets that they can re-leverage out of any problem for the next 10 years, because they always own all those assets that keeps them in the game. Debenhams, no. So then the banks go, actually, we're not going to fund this anymore. You've got no assets. You've got nothing to hang our hat on. Goodbye.
And then they get acquired by the bigger companies who have done it the right way. And then transform.
Yeah, and so ASOS and Boohoo just said, we don't want any of these stores. We'll just take the brand and the stock and we'll sell it online because that's the innovative way. But Boohoo and ASOS, who knows, in 30 years' time, some other whippersnapper could come in that's, I don't know, doing virtual stores or whatever. Maybe that's going to be the thing, and they don't keep up to date on that. Most companies really only last a generation now and don't make it past 30 years old. In fact, I don't think many companies make it, only 0.5% of companies make it to 10 years old. So it really gives you some thought process there on just how hard it is to keep your company keep on going.
Brilliant, and you're right, and I love what you've said a few times there about these people selling get-rich-quick schemes, and these, become a 7-8 figure earner in 14 days, buy this course and things like this. Do you think there's too much of that going on at the minute? Where
only if you're looking for it. If you're looking for it, and that's what you're attracted to, you will find it. But you would have found that 30 years ago. People are always going to look for those things. And they never have anything. It's like people that don't pay tax, electricians that say they only earn 15 grand a year, and think, come on, mate, You're an electrician. You're only earning 15 grand a year. Yeah, all right. Then they try and get a mortgage, and they can't get a mortgage. I've always paid more tax whenever I want to borrow money. I've always been able to borrow it because I have that longer term approach.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, going back to the foundations, you've set the foundations right, haven't you? You've built everything on a strong foundation rather than try to run quickly and build it on sand.
But I think I've done it quicker than most people. I'm 35, I've really only been at it 17, 18 years. But, I get disappointed in myself sometimes that I haven't done as much as I could because I know I've got more potential. But I'm also a human being. I listen to Clubhouse is the new thing that you sort of alluded to earlier, Dave, where everyone talks about getting up before the birds and that's how you got to be successful. I don't set an alarm. I don't come into work until 10 a.m. most days because I don't want to sit in traffic. And I just think, who's to tell me that if I get up at 4 o'clock, I'll be more successful? I prefer being of a night doing stuff. I like to go to bed at midnight because that time between 9:30 and midnight is where I make my best ideas. We're all different. Now, other people, it works getting up before the birds, but it don't for me. So, you got to respect you're a human being.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect bit of advice because I did sit in a room where people's advice was, well, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm thinking, get up at 5. You won't see. If I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's by mistake. It's not by choice. It's not by an alarm.
Well, if I'm up at 5 o'clock, it's because I've got 2 children. One of them did come in last night at 1:30, so I was technically up really early last night. But that's kiddly winks.
That's the first time. So, what would you say your greatest achievement is so far? What's the best thing you've done where you could think, I'm proud of that?
For me, it's probably building a brands that families love. That's where I want to be, and I feel like we've done that. I feel like we've got a lot more to go, but I like that our customers like us as a business, and I like that we've clocked up people that have worked for us. I'm 35, I've got people that work for me for 18, 20 years because they like being part of what we're about, and I like that. And that to me is, if you spend most of your time with the people you work with, you spend more time with them than your friends and your family. And I want to enjoy the people I work with, and I felt like that's happened in my life, and so I feel good about that.
Yeah, brilliant. Is legacy important to you? Leaving this form of legacy behind for the people that you're taking with you on the journey. Where do you kind of see the end happening for yourself?
Yeah, the type of businesses that I own, Marsh Farm, my day nurseries, I always say I'll never really own these companies. I'm just looking after them for the next generation. And I genuinely believe that. I think of Marsh Farm, at the end of the day, we're all leaseholders, even though I am a freeholder of most of my properties. But we are all leaseholders. We're here for a short amount of time. And I feel privileged that I don't just own loads of commercial property, and I don't just do property. I actually do things that make people smile in our businesses. I mean, that sounds a bit woo-woo, doesn't it? But I'm attracted to leisure, family, entertainment, and tourism. But you started as an entertainer,
so it doesn't sound woo-woo. You started your journey as an entertainer, so I get that with you.
Because people always say to me, why do you do this? Why don't because I think I know a lot about commercial property. I've got a lot of it. I've made a lot more money out of property than I have of my trading businesses in terms of net worth. But I do like property. It's weird. I love commercial property. Like, I've got lots of small industrial units that I rent out, and I love that stuff. But I'm really passionate about creating great days out and giving families a great time and the first steps of childcare in our business. And so, knowing that we're helping the next generation, and our businesses, a lot of them will still be around for the next generation, especially our outdoor attractions. They won't go anywhere. And so, I won't be here to see what the next generation does with it. And hopefully that's a long way away. But it does feel good knowing that we've got that sort of a business.
It's a very powerful mindset, that, because a lot of business people want to grow something to sell to then live a life of, being financially free and being able to be freedom to do what they want. You're almost living a life to leave a mark, to to carry this on and then to pass it on?
I think Dave, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I will never insist my children come in and run this business. If they want to get involved, then I'll happily let them get involved. Will they be the managers of the business? Not sure. Happy for them to be owners of the business because they might not have the talent and the expertise to run the business. And so I'll say to them, you can be shareholders, but you ain't going to be the MD. And if you do want to be the MD, you will have to compete with candidates in the outside market because that might be the right thing for the 600, maybe 2,000 people we employ by then. And we've got to protect all their jobs and livelihoods. But if they turn around and say, you know, I really want to be a computer programmer, I don't want to be in this sector or in this business, I'm going to support them and teach them and not insist they have to come and work in my family business, if you like. And that's going to be very important for me. You know, that they might just want to...
How old are your children?
4 and 6 months. And already people say it to me all the time. Oh, they're going to be taking over the empire. And I always turn around and say, only if they want to and if they're good enough to. I'm never going to force them to do it.
Do you...
but the other point, Dave, I just wanted to say the other point is, but I am still always building a business to sell, even if I have no intention of it, because that's very good discipline as a business owner.
Yeah. So in terms of your processes, systems you have in place, you can always sell the business at any one point. And I suppose that's where people have a downfall. They think they have a business, they don't. They have a very highly paid job, or you know, they have a job because they don't. How have you built systems into your business and processes that allow you to have a business to sell?
Yeah, so I love systems and processes. I just don't like putting them in place. So I've always surrounded myself by management. So my formula for success in business is called E plus M equals S. That's entrepreneurship plus management equals success. Any successful entrepreneur that I've wandered on through in my life surround themselves by an outstanding management team that look after the day-to-day, and the entrepreneur is looking after what happens tomorrow. And if you can have that mindset, you will build a successful business, because management are the key ingredient to keeping the business fantastic. And that is so, so crucial and often so, so forgotten.
It is, and I think that's important. And how, if we asked your management to describe you in a couple of words, how would you think they would describe you, James?
Unorganised, always late, can't focus on any one thing for too long. What else would people describe me as? These are all the bad things. I'm just looking to Chuds, who's filming this.
Named them.
Yeah, but I think they would. I would think they would say I've got quite good.
Do they manage up? Do they manage you?
Yeah, and I want them to. I've got my PA. Yeah, I'm terribly, I'm terrible at grammar and spelling and stuff like that. You know, but I've always surrounded myself by good people. But I do think I've got quite good commercial awareness, and I think I can, when people are being knobs, I can get people in line, and I can make the impossible happen, but not very good at making the possible happen consistently. But I've always known that, so I don't bother doing it. You see, once you get to a certain level of success, you're in a really good position where you can just slag yourself off and know it doesn't matter. And I can. I know all my flaws.
Do you not think, though, that's an important level of self-discovery? Like, I know what you've just described there, you very much described me, and then I think to myself, is that a trait of an entrepreneur, or is that just a trait of the crazy idea thinkers that we are? Yeah. Is I'm unorganised. I need people to manage me. I need people to remind me to do things within my businesses. I need them to... And I always say, if I take on any senior level manager, I went, you manage me, I don't manage you. You know, you here to tell me,
and I think,
to put me back in line.
Yeah, I think that's... Yeah. And if you're like me, you can probably do the things... Like, I'm quite good at making deals happen, and I would say the team would say I'm quite a good communicator in a presentation to get business over the line. And yeah.
Brilliant. I love that. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all my guests is, what are you doing now that your future self will thank you for?
drinking a glass of water, because I do think the more water you drink, the better you are. Well, constantly investing in property, commercial property and freeholds. Although they cause me pain right now because you have to put big chunks of cash in to get them, but
Yeah.
in 10, 15 years' time, they will reward you massively, especially after 10 years, because I believe property doubles in value roughly every 10 years. And then after owning a piece of real estate for 10 years, it's like the best thing you've ever done. And also, I'm working on buying quite a famous business around us at the moment that's going to cause me quite a lot of cash flow problems. I know that's going to be the case because I'm paying for it over a short period of time. But I know in 15 years' time, I'll look back and go, I'm glad I did that. Because that was a great investment, and it's another like legacy brand like Marsh Farm that will not just disappear overnight. It's a 90-year-old business, and so if I can get that over the line and focus on growing it, that'll be a very good thing to do.
Love that. And commercial property, for example, like we do very much similar to yourself, but we don't do commercial at the moment, is we invest profits from one business into the property business. At the minute, we're just buying houses. We buy singular houses. Yeah. We rent them out to families up here in the northeast, and that's kind of our strategy.
Yeah, I think if I were lived in the northeast, I would do the same. But you know, I've still got quite a lot of residential property. I just think when you look at commercial stuff, you really start thinking this is so much better.
Where's commercial going? Where's the high street going? Where's
I don't touch that.
Where's all of?
So what I touch is industrial, warehousing, and offices. Small stuff on easy in, easy out tenancies that has at least whatever I pay for it, I get at least 10% rent back in an annual basis. So if I buy something for 100 grand, I get at least 10 grand a year rent back. And that's my rules on property investment. So at least a 20% return on investment with a 10% annual rent on the purchase price.
So this is more of a selfish question for myself to learn from you is, where do you see the office side of things going? You know, we're all seeing this, people are working from home, people are no longer in offices. I see a slightly different side of things because I'm still in the offices.
Yeah.
I'm not
well, my
today,
team,
normally I'm
we're building new offices, and my team cannot wait to get back into the office. They're young people, they want to be around people. My sister's boyfriend, he's a solicitor working from home. He absolutely hates it. He's 21 years old, he's a whippersnapper. He's desperate to get back in the office and be around people. I think we're going to go to a hybrid approach. I mean, I even who I bank with, they're a private bank. They was already going to 4 days in the office, 1 day at home. They're now doing flexi working hours, and they employ thousands of people, and they're desperate to get back in the office. I speak to them all the time and just create that culture and innovation. Like we manage our senior people on output, not input, and I can see companies doing that. You can't do it to service staff. Like I can't do that to my day nurseries, or if you own a transport company, you can't say to lorry drivers, yeah, just work from home. It doesn't work. But anything on a senior innovation head office team, you should be managing them on output and let them work from home if they want, let them be in the office if they want, as long as they have a presence. I just cannot believe that if you're 19 years old, you want to work from home. You don't want to go and do 3 or 4 years in London or Manchester and have all the fun that a city brings. Come on. And I actually believe there'll be companies that say, yeah, you can work in London and have all the social life of working in London, or the same salary, but you work from home and you just come in once a month for a meeting. I think people are going, no, I'll go and work for that company. It's got a cool office in London where I can go out there, and I can see. Look, my view is the world is like an elastic band. We're stretching it because of coronavirus right now, but the second the world goes back to normal, it gets released and everything goes back to its original shape. Everyone will be back on planes, going on international holidays. People will go out to restaurants again. They'll go to cinemas again, and they'll go into the office when they can and work from home if they want to. And I think we'll have a hybrid working approach, but I think most people will still go into work. It's bloody soul destroying just sitting at home on your own. It's a novelty for 3 months. You think this is great. After you do it for 18 months and you've got no friends anymore and you don't know, and people start leaving companies, and it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. I love that. Final question. What do you think the common traits are of entrepreneurs?
What, good ones?
Good ones.
Yeah, I call this the 8 traits of the great. Can you bring that up, Chuds, in case I forget it? Number 1 is commercial awareness. Number 1 is thinking with the end in mind. Number 3 is a natural born marketeer. Number 4 is great relationship with people. They're 4 main ones. I'm trying to think of. We call this the 8 traits of the great. I haven't that we've listed out. Commercial awareness, I said, didn't I? Great with people, thinking with the end in mind, natural born marketeer. And the other 4, hopefully Chuds is going to bring up in a second, and I'll read the other 4 out. But I've identified 8, but they're the top 4. Commercial awareness, thinking with the end in mind, great with people, and did I say commercial awareness? Yeah.
One of our businesses that we invest in, they do a lot in personal branding. So we do a lot with influencer marketing, creating content. Where do you, and especially with what you're doing right now, and with your podcasts and your YouTube and everything that you're doing in these podcasts, where do you think the importance of personal branding will come in the future? Do you think it's important to have a personal brand?
Well, everyone's got a personal brand. We've all got one. It's how trustable you are. It's just some people like putting it out there, and I suppose I like putting it out there. I love speaking on stages and making videos and doing this sort of stuff. I really enjoy doing it, so that's why I put more into it. And I also really enjoy knowing that my team can visually see what I'm up to as we go over a bigger geographical patch, and they know what their owner of the business, if you like, is up to. So that's and attracting great people to come and work for you. That you think about the Steve Jobs personal brand. If you was into making computers and doing computery stuff, because of his big personal brand, he would attract the best people in that industry to come work for him. Richard Branson the same, Bill Gates the same, Elon Musk the same, Walt Disney the same. They attract the best of that industry to come work for them because of their strong personal brands. That, to me, is the strongest reason for business owners to do it, to attract the talent to come work for you. I've got them 8 traits here now.
Let's go.
They start with the end in mind. Number 2, they're passionate. Number 3, untold amounts of resilience. I'm remembering all these now. Number 4, great relationships with people. They bring people together. I mean by that. Number 5, commercial awareness, that I told you about. Number 6, constantly innovation all the time. Number 7, born marketeer. And number 8, this is the crucial one. I'm so annoyed I forgot about that. They remain teachable.
Love that.
All the most successful multimillionaires that I've met, when they met me, they asked me questions about what I would do in a certain situation. I think, what were they? But they're like a 60, 70-year-old that are asking me about how do you use LinkedIn to get customers. I love that when you see a 70-year-old successful business owner wanting to know the new latest marketing hack, and that's brilliant in my opinion.
And I think we'll end on that, because I think that there is the most powerful thing. You're always learning. There's always something you can always learn from someone. There's the trait I see in people when they think they know it all. It's a terrible trait. And, being in education and learning and personal development, things like that, it's so important. So if anyone wants to find your YouTube channel, hit you up, find out a little bit more information, where can they go? So
on Clubhouse at James Sinclair, Instagram at _James Sinclair, and then on YouTube, James Sinclair. But if you go to my website, jamessinclair.net, that will be the base that takes you to all places. You can get all my books for free on my website. We decided just to give them away for free now. And you can apply to come on my podcast if you've got challenges in your business. I run a podcast called The Business Broadcast, which is where I coach business owners live for half an hour on their challenges. People love that, because I think when you're a business owner, everyone needs to know we've all got challenges, and listening to someone else's challenges could be the biggest way of teaching you how to get through your challenges. So we make that, and then on YouTube there's literally 500 plus videos helping you grow your business.
Love that. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers now.